gonna wait for people to say hi. Somebody say hi to me. Say hi if you're here. Perfect. Show us your nails. Is it the same person that always asks that? When are we getting married? I don't know. I think I'll get married on paper at some point for the benefits. But I wouldn't get married like we're together forever and ever and ever, like type of shit. No. All right. Anyways, good evening. I'm glad you guys are here. So quick announcement. I will be live right after this on my OnlyFans. So if you want to come have some freaky time, meet me over there at 8 p.m. PST, which is in an hour and a half. A couple other things. Make sure you're following me on YouTube. I just spent all day filming a new, so I know this is called Thoughts with Thoughts, but now we have like the other Thoughts with Thoughts with Naomi, and we just filmed our 4th episode of that. If you guys want to see other episodes, they are on YouTube, and we just filmed our 4th one. I also filmed a YouTube video on the topic that we're about to talk about today, but I kind of want to talk about it here with you guys too, so like a more interactive format, because I really like hearing what you guys have to say. What else? Yeah, make sure you're following me on all those platforms. Next week, there will be an episode, but later in the week, I'll be going to Miami to do a debate with some red pillars on the Unfiltered podcast, I believe. It'll be me, Destiny, and Alex from Playing with Fire. Oh, this Thursday, I'm going to be debating a black-pilled guy, which I completely forgot about until now. So I need to watch his videos, unfortunately, and see what he's all about. Eli, actually, I'm going to put you on that, so please don't forget to message me about it, because I'll forget, and it won't be like I made you do with whatever and Fresh and Fit, because for those of you who don't know, I couldn't stand watching them, so I made Eli, the lovely Eli, the moderator, watch them for me and tell me kind of what they said, and I'm going to probably have them do the same thing here. I see the trolls are in here already. I just turned 18 last week. I can show you my ID on Instagram. Can I get a gift? No. Yeah, so poor Eli. I know. Eli's the best. If you are in the Discord group, you know. So that will be on Thursday. I'm going to stream that to my YouTube channel as well. So you could watch that on my YouTube channel or on Alex's, which is the Playing with Fire YouTube channel. And what else? And I am setting up a debate on hopefully the Whatever podcast with Trent Horn and Lila versus me and either Ayla or Destiny, probably, on if sex work is good for society. And I'm really excited for that one, because I think it'll be a really interesting conversation, because I think Trent, I watched him before, and he is a really smart guy. And so it'll be a little less brain numbing, I think, than having to watch me on Fresh and Fit and stuff. Hello, Jasmine. I love watching your videos. Thank you. Okay, so today I want to talk about objectification. So this is a comment that I probably get at least once a day, and on some form of my social media. And usually the comment goes, "You objectify yourself." And basically the argument is, by putting yourself on display or putting your sexuality on display for other people to consume, you are objectifying yourself, and you are seeing yourself as nothing more than a mere object put on display for the sexual pleasure of others. And this kind of, Raquel, hi. Oh my God, I haven't seen you in weeks. I actually love that you're in here for this. I hope Eva is in here, or Star Womb, or any of my other ladies. Because I love hearing female perspectives, especially on topics like this, but I love everybody that's in here. Thank you, King of the Hunt and Typo Maiden. You guys are in here every week, and I really appreciate it. Because, I mean, the reason I really do these is just to kind of hang out with you guys and talk. And Palm Tree Killa, one of my best friends in real life. Okay, so objectification. I did film a full YouTube video on it, and I'm just pretty much going to, I have like notes for that video, and I'm going to pretty much talk about it here and do this in more like a discussion format, because I think you guys always give me some really good insight, and we can like facilitate a conversation that I obviously can't do if it's just me talking into a camera. So what is objectification? We're just going to go over definition really quick. Cambridge defines it as treating people like tools or toys, as if they had no feelings, opinions, or rights of their own. And then, of course, self-objectification is a psychological process in which a person views themselves this way. I'm obviously going to be focusing. I mean, I'm not going to be focusing because I'm going to kind of be comparing. What the charge I get is that I engage in sexual self-objectification, which is basically, instead of seeing yourself as an object, you see yourself as a sexual object, something that is only there to be used for the sexual pleasure of others. And the first thing I want to say is that the first thing that always came to my mind when people said this is I feel like there's a big difference between objectifying yourself and allowing other people to objectify you. Objectifying yourself, self-objectification is more of a like internal state of mind, and not necessarily a reflection of someone's job or even their behavior necessarily. Okay, I gotta wake up for work here in 6 hours, but I'm still trying to throw together my work costume so I can finally join. Oh shit, tomorrow's Halloween. I gotta put my costume together too. And this was, I know some people were like, do a Halloween stream. I'm like not that festive to like come on here and be like, ooh, boo, like it's just not me. But so we're gonna talk about objectification instead. So a lot of people don't understand that just because you're objectifying someone, it doesn't mean that they're objectifying themselves. So the biggest thing for me was always like, what are your thoughts on narcissism? Just curious. I think the word narcissist is overused. Yeah, Eva, you're in here. So yeah, like I said, self-objectification involves an internal psychological state of mind. It's not necessarily reflected by an individual's profession. So the first thing I always thought when people are like, you objectify yourself, and I'm like, well, objectification and self-objectification is the process in which, and a lot of the research done on objectification centers around kind of the internalization of beauty standards and evaluating your self-worth based on like your physical appearance. And I guess the sexual objectification version of that is seeing yourself or evaluating your self-worth as how, by the way, Star Woman is streaming right now. Oh, why does she have to stream when I stream? Because now I can't join hers. I actually haven't been able to join any of her streams, so it's something I plan on doing if I ever catch it at the right time. Is viewing yourself as merely a sexual object. And so the first thing I always thought of when people said I objectify myself is I'm like, no, I'm kind of just letting you objectify me. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because I'm gaining a benefit out of it. And like my thoughts and feelings and opinions outweigh yours. So I actually care about them so much that it outweighs your perception of me. And the main thing here is that we engage in objectification all the time in so many different contexts and a lot of non-sexual contexts. But because sex is involved, as soon as sex is involved, people lose their fucking minds. So like I had some examples in here. So domestic servants are often objectified. And another thing is people always see it as like such a negative thing always. And I think depending on how you view it, I think there are very harmful negative forms of objectification, and there are also very normal forms of objectification. Even when it comes to sex and sexual objectification, it's interesting because Dennis Prager actually even like made this point, and he got into heat with some conservatives, but he like doubled down that like, well, even with your like wife, like when you're in the bedroom, you're like when you're having sex with someone, you're generally seeing them as an object of lust and desire. And you're not like sitting there in that moment thinking about all the other elements of them as a human being, right? You're very primal, you're meeting a sexual need, a sexual urge, and that's in that moment. But in another moment, you can really much Sorry, somebody, my videographer was here because we had just filmed and you just left. My initial thought at the beginning of this discussion is that people are conflating self-objectification with being comfortable with others. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. But I'm going into all the ways that people objectify people on a daily basis, and it's not seen as wrong. But somehow when it comes to sex and sex work in particular, it's like, oh my God. So usually, like, even when you hire somebody like to clean your house, fix your car, change your light bulb, people are like, when you do OnlyFans, you're letting people use you for sexual gratification. I'm like, well, what are you doing when you hire somebody to fix your car? You're using them to fix your car. You're using them in order to carry out a service. That doesn't mean that you're mean to them. And most of the people are not mean to me either that consume my services online. It doesn't mean you don't know that they're human beings or that you treat them like subhuman. Most people don't treat me that way either. But it means that you're using them as a tool to carry out a transactional need, and you're not like super concerned with their status as a human being beyond that. I feel like with sex work, for some reason, people are like, oh my God, none of your fans like care about you as a person. I'm like, that's okay. And first of all, like, I know some of you do, and I care about you guys as people too. But my goal with sex work is not to have everybody be super like concerned with who I am as a person and my thoughts and my opinions. Although I think we clearly know that I will share those, which I think goes counter to the idea that I sexually objectify myself, because obviously I don't see myself as just a sexual object if I come on here once a week and ramble away and I'm very vocal about all my thoughts and opinions and you're here listening. So, where was I before that? Sorry, my brain is like mushy from filming all day. Hey, I'm here and ready to be objectified. You're too interesting not to be concerned with it, though. I mean, when someone says, "Oh, you objectify yourself," to me, that's like, I was like, okay, like, am I misunderstanding objectification? Because objectification to me, it's like, I think it's just like a buzzword. People, oh, you're objectifying yourself. I think they're just words that people use, like grooming. Like, I feel like grooming is used all the fucking time now. Just certain words that people just throw around, and I like feel like those words are not properly understood, and or like objectification, which in a lot of contexts is seen as negative, but I don't necessarily always think that's the case. And I think it's normal for people to, I mean, we all compartmentalize and we distinguish between interactions that are more personal and those that are more impersonal and fleeting. So in those sense, you objectify people around you all the time. You can argue that even being in a consumerist capitalist society, first of all, companies, advertising agents, like, they're objectifying all of us, okay? All we are to them are dollar signs. They don't literally care if we live or die. All forms of labor under a capitalist society, or many forms of labor under a capitalist society, labor production in a capitalist society can be described as a transformation of all of us into mere objects for the production of labor and to turn a profit for companies. A lot of times these companies are companies that, not always, and especially not if you're self-employed, which a lot of sex workers are. It's for a company that finds you very replaceable and also probably doesn't care if you live or die. So again, like, when you think of treating someone as a means to an end or to carry out a service or even as a product, we do that in our society all the time. Entertainers, athletes, musicians, right? They're objectifying their bodies or an element of their body, their voice, whatever it is. And look at the way we view celebrities. Even though we may idolize them, we may fantasize about them, whatever, just like some people may do with me. It's not like we're always, we pick them apart online. We violate their boundaries of privacy. We pry into their lives. We don't always see them as human beings. That's pretty common. But yet, when it comes to sex and sex work, people are really like, oh my God, no, this is different. If someone views you as a sexual object, as opposed to, I guess, a regular object or a product to be gawked at, it's so much worse. And it's just one of those things, because it's like, it's sex. People freak out about sex work like you're selling your body. What do you think I'm doing in a factory 40 hours a week? Yeah. A lot of people, sex work is usually driven for many people out of economic necessity and a need to support yourself like any other job. And I also think that it's absolutely crazy how the public perception of someone saying, I would rather engage in sex work, I would rather sleep with people for money as opposed to, let's say, scrubbing a toilet. Now, I'm not saying that's bad or that anyone who does that is bad, but like, especially because sex work, I think, is an industry where a lot of women are in it and women have, um, women out earn men. The one industry where that happens, like at least one of the few, then all of a sudden it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't have any dignity. You don't have any self-respect. You should feel if you're working away for way less money, lack of sleep, in a factory or whatever job you're doing for a company that doesn't care about you, that just uses your body as a form of labor in order to turn a profit, at least, you should be happy with that. You should really you have your dignity. But if you're like, I rather do OnlyFans and sleep in and make a lot more money, and this isn't the case for everybody, some people don't, and I'm okay with it, and it doesn't violate my values or harm my perception of myself, people can't take it. People cannot fucking take it. And it's interesting, right? So the distinction, I think, is often a moral distinction people make between self-objectification and sexual self-objectification, or not even when you're actually because again, self-objectification is viewing yourself as an object. If you're allowing other people to do it, you're automatically objectifying yourself. I don't know how many people comment on athletes' profiles. You're self-objectifying yourself. You're objectifying yourself. I don't think that happens. Self-objectifying yourself is kind of counter. You're selling your body in romantic relationships just in different ways. Yeah, I think society super objectifies stars. Yeah, but they don't get the same charge we get, right? And I think that's a reflection of our values as a society. I kind of said all this in my YouTube video. I think it's a reflection of our values as a society surrounding sex, and especially here in the West where we're less open with it, religious values that we still largely hold in our culture. Because can anybody explain to me what's different about it? Can someone play devil's advocate? Because I think I'd love to hear what people actually think. And I also think that there is a distinction between non-consensual objectification and participating, choosing informed consent when you're choosing to consensual participation, basically, in the industry. For those of us who are choosing this industry, like me, and who had other options available to me, I am making the active choice, the informed choice to do it. And I think, and my agency is respected because it's what I'm choosing. And a lot of people just take that out of the equation entirely, right? They say sexual objectification of women is bad. I mean, yeah, but a woman choosing and consenting to participate in an industry is different than a woman who doesn't want to be objectified in a different context and you're doing it anyway. Those are different things. And I actually think that, like I wrote here, you're making a informed choice to be part of the industry. And so my agency here is respected. You're actually respecting me as a human being and my agency and autonomy by respecting my decision to put my sexuality on display to be consumed by you and others. I think it's more objectifying to tell me or any woman when they can show their body and when they can, and to exercise that control over a woman and take her thoughts, feelings, her status as a human, and her agency out of the equation entirely. I think when you're policing a woman's sexuality and not listening to her as an individual, that's when you're objectifying someone. That's when you're seeing them as merely a sexual object, a sexual body, and you need to come in and you need to tell them what they can and can't do with it. You are not respecting their status, I think, as a adult human who can make decisions for themselves. How are you doing? I just got here. Hello. Some other things I wrote down. when you're participating in the industry, you are actively involved in shaping your own career, setting boundaries, exercising control over your work. Um, and that's where a lot of people find empowering. Now, if you guys have heard me talk about this before, then you know that I hate when people ask me, "Oh, is OnlyFans empowering?" Because I think it's something that people just put on, "Oh, are you empowered?" And the idea is it's either empowering or it's degrading, and there's nothing in between. It creates kind of this false dichotomy. And never once in my life did anyone ask me, "Oh, as a lawyer, are you saying being a lawyer is empowering?" Like, it could be, but nobody asks lawyers that. Those of you that work other jobs, how often do people ask you if your job is empowering? So with sex work, it's kind of like, and I feel bad because I feel like a lot of sex workers then feel this pressure to be like, "Oh my God, I love it. It's so great," because the alternative is that it's degrading and it's horrible, when I think it's a job like any other job. Now, I feel personally empowered by it, but you don't have to feel empowered by it in order to do it. It could just be the best job that you have available to you. Um, and that's okay. And that doesn't mean every moment of every day is like, "Yay, this is great." But I feel empowered by the financial freedom that I have, the freedom I have day to day. I feel actually empowered. I said this in the YouTube video as well. If you're going to watch the YouTube video, it's going to be a lot of the same shit I'm saying here. I feel empowered by being a part of this community. It's the only time in my life that I've been able to be a part of a marginalized community for the most part, unless you could argue like being a child of immigrants, like all of that. I'm not saying every aspect of my life I was on the side of privilege, but in a lot of ways I was, right? I grew up with parents who made good money. I was a lawyer. I was in law school. With all of us there were privileged. We were in one of the most privileged professions. And then I went to like one of the most marginalized professions. And I love being a part of that community because I feel empowered by standing up for that and doing what I'm doing here and challenging the norms and fighting against the stigma. I feel personally empowered by that. So instead of objectified, I was just saying to Cisco, I was like, this is the only time in my life, like I'm pretty lazy, that I actually have drive and I want to work for something. And I feel empowered by that. I feel empowered by having a work ethic and a drive because I never really had one before. The manosphere argument against women freely choosing to sexually objectify themselves, or at least put themselves in a position to be objectified, is that it erodes traditional gender roles. Since traditional gender roles have historically been perceived as the foundation of strong family bonds, it follows that human flourishing operates ideally when those gender roles are valued, respected, and even enforced by society. His writing, let's give it up for Hazard Stint. Hazard Stint always writes like so beautifully and concisely. That is what they think. I think you made a really good steelman of their point. I guess I find issue with the idea that human flourishing operates ideally when people don't have the liberty to live their lives as they see fit, right? Even with sex work, I think that in a society functions better when we have freedom, when we have the liberty, when we have the economic liberty, and when we have the autonomy over our bodies to do with as we see fit, when we get to choose who we have sex with and in what context. And as a buyer, even, who gets to choose to consume sex from a sex consenting adult, I think human society flourishes better when people have the freedom to be who they are, as opposed to forced into these rigid categories that don't work for everybody. Hi, Heather. Good to see you. I know I've missed Hazard. Raquel is in here. So, and I think it's important to note that there are, just like I said, people come in all different varieties. People also, sex workers do too. And so some sex workers, some sex workers feel like sex work has negatively impacted their self-esteem and body image. Some feel like it's increased their self-esteem and body image. And then some, like me, feel like it hasn't really impacted my self-esteem or body image much. Some people find their interactions with their clients, or, in my case, subscribers, followers, to be really pleasant. I do. Some people don't, especially when their boundaries are violated. I am pretty rigid about my boundaries. And if you know me, you know that. So I don't have a hard time enforcing them. And again, I want to reiterate that part of that is because of my privilege. I have a privileged position in this industry for sure. Even having the luxury of being on OnlyFans, being a a creator that does fairly well on the platform, being somebody who is pretty confident in myself and my voice and in setting those boundaries. I kind of never had issues with setting boundaries in my life. So all of those things are areas that help me in this industry and that make me more privileged. But there are sex workers like that. Again, it's not one size fits all. I wrote, many sex workers see sex work as a notable improvement in the conditions of labor than other jobs they've worked. That's what Eva was saying earlier. Sex work is often a pragmatic choice driven by economic necessity, much like other forms of employment. I think it's such a stupid argument when people go like, well, it's bad because you're only having sex with them, or the woman is only having sex with you because because you're paying them. Well, the only reason the person at Subway is making you a Subway sandwich is because they're getting paid. Like, am I crazy? I don't get that argument at all. Many individuals engage in sex work to meet financial needs and to secure their livelihoods, similar to those who work in other industries to make a living. All forms of labor are commodified to some extent. Very true. Can you stand up? No, but if you want to see me naked, that'll be at 8 p.m. on my OnlyFans. So act of selling your body in the context of sex work is fundamentally similar to other forms of labor in a capitalist society, as both involve the exchange of one's labor as a valuable resource. The key distinction lies in individual choice, consent, and the degree of agency that individuals have in their work, which can vary widely across different professions. So if you're doing sex work the way I'm doing sex work, it's pretty good. You're scoring pretty high on agency, freedom, consent, all of those things. And so it's crazy that people tell me that I'm objectifying myself when you would be hard pressed to find anyone who puts their feelings and their opinions, and I'm really opinionated, above all else. I mean, I came into this industry to be a sex worker, and now I do streams every Monday talking about shit, and I'm doing podcast appearances where I'm arguing for my beliefs and why. So that's kind of just some of my thoughts. I moved around in this a lot. But yeah, that was mainly what I wanted to talk about today, is going through and trying to understand where these kind of comments come from, and like having a discussion maybe surrounding objectification in general. And I think I didn't end up keeping this in, but I had a list that, like, when I looked up like signs of self-objectification, and a lot of it has to do, so I think you can get into that in doing OnlyFans, but a lot of like models, YouTubers, kind of anyone in the public eye who puts so much on their appearance, and I care about my appearance a lot, but it's never the thing that I feel like makes me me. But especially younger girls who haven't found themselves yet and don't have that confidence, they're the ones that engage in a lot of self-objectification because they see these standards, these beauty standards, they internalize them. They think that all their worth is in how they look and how other people perceive them. But a lot of people don't use objectification in that context. And that's really the most researched area in this. And it's like the most, I would say, like valid. Most people talk about it in the context, at least maybe this is just me because this is the way I hear about it, is sexual objectification and sexual self-objectification. And people assume that if you're online doing porn or you're on OnlyFans, then you're automatically self-objectifying yourself. I keep saying self-objectifying yourself, which makes no sense. You are automatically objectifying yourself. I always am like, should I say objectifying yourself or engaging in self-objectification? And hi, Derek. And that, no, I lost my train of thought. Y'all know what I'm saying. So, thoughts, comments, concerns? Make sure I didn't miss any comments. You're selling your body in romantic relationship in just different ways. Oh, I think I read that one. Yeah, that's what I mean. Objectifying is usually negative from a social context. It's philosophy and economics. It's just evil. And here's the other thing. I don't think that by enjoying someone in a sexual context, you're like, I guess you could argue you can either argue you are objectifying them, but objectification isn't always bad. Or if you're gonna only take the bad form of it, then I would say you're not. Like, it's not like you guys don't see me as a human being. I know that very well. In fact, a lot of you check in on me, you truly care. And same thing with me. Like, it's not that if somebody is my waiter at a restaurant that I don't see them as a human being and I don't care about them, but it's just that in the context of me eating food, like, yeah, that's the purpose of this person being here. Just like people use me for my body, I am using the waiter to serve me food. I am using the mechanic to fix my car. I'm using the dry cleaner to, you know what I mean? It is what is so different about sex work? Okay, we got a comment from moderator. I think in any relationship where there is a power dynamic, which is essentially all of them, one party will be objectified in something, in some way, but I don't think it is inherently a bad thing. Me neither. I think it's normal. Like, another thing is people almost like, do I objectify my clients? I mean, I use clients but like subscribers or followers, do I objectify them? You could argue the same thing. It's, you could, do I see, like, sometimes I see them as in, like, just like other people can see their subscribers. Okay, I'm looking at numbers. How many people subscribed? Okay, this person just subscribed. I made this much money. But something about doing sex work and putting your body on display sexually, people really see it as different. And I just talked about this on Thoughts with Naomi about even like this idea of fucking your way to the top. I guess you could argue that anytime you're using you're getting something unfairly, okay, you can have a problem with that. But a lot of people use their resources, they use their connections, they use their money in order to get ahead in an industry. But something about sleeping with people or using your sexuality to get ahead in anything is seen as so bad. Like, you are a bad person. You are a bad woman if you say things like, I would rather have sex for money than do this job, work in a factory. I would rather, if I'm able to use my sexuality to get a leg up in my career, I'm going to use it just like I can use any other resource available to me. These things, even me, who, like, I'm thinking of this, like, when your intuition, just because of what the culture that we live in is like, oh, I can't believe she said, right? And it's crazy because a lot of it's common sense. If you watch my soft white underbelly video, it's the same thing I feel when I say, like, oh, I'm doing OnlyFans. Yeah, because I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, and it was kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying to get up early every day, and people act like I am the worst, most evil human being ever for saying that. And I'm like, but all the parts of having a job that everyone complains about, like having a boss, not having freedom, having a 9 to 5, and not everybody hates those, but a lot of people do. For some reason, when I say it and I vocalize what everybody else is thinking, what a lot of people are thinking, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I did it. There are an enormous amount of people that all of a sudden are in my comments like, life is about working yourself to the bone, and like life is worthless unless you're working hard and grinding every day. I'm like, really? Is that you're telling me if you won the lottery, then you would be like, sorry, I didn't work hard for this money, let me return it? It's like people all of a sudden, they have this different standard for, very much reminds me of Nietzsche's, what was his moral thing of, like, which I don't agree with on a grand scale, like morality sometimes for like the poor or whatever is just an opposition to whatever. So because you can't do what I do, all of a sudden you have the morally superior position because you can't make easy money. Now making easy money is bad because you can't profit off your sexuality as a guy. Now profiting off your sexuality is bad, but it's only bad as a response to you not being able to do it. Somebody give me where I'm getting that from, Nisha. Comments. Okay. would choose you. Oh, I saw this already. Mod, please remove my okay. I feel as though true objectification only comes when there's no benefit to both parties or when one objectified is powerless. Yeah, that's kind of why, like, I think you can argue that either if we're going to take it as only something negative, then I think we should only use it in context where it is negative, like this. But if we're actually going to use it as what it is, then it can apply to a wide variety of contexts, and not all of them are always bad. You choose people you sleep with. You don't choose people who subscribe to OnlyFans. Are you saying that then wait, what's the argument here? This could have been something I said. This is from 4 minutes ago. I think it's just a form of moral outrage that doesn't have a logical basis. Basically, it's a knee-jerk reaction in society to look down at sex work because sex in general is this taboo thing in our society. It's a bunch of nonsense, really. Yeah, I agree. Finally caught alive. Hey, Mingli, I'm glad you're here. Would you like your daughter to be an OnlyFans girl? If my daughter, I can say this, if my daughter found as much joy and happiness, freedom in her job as I do in mine, and she, as long as she wasn't hurting anybody else, I would be so happy. Yes. If my daughter could do OnlyFans and have the life I have, the confidence, the autonomy, the agency to do, yes, 100%. I would much rather my daughter do OnlyFans like I am than to be a corporate executive who hates her job, who every Sunday night is like, fuck, I got to go to work tomorrow, who works for a company that can fire her at any point and doesn't really care, you know, and I don't think sex work is for everyone. Those jobs are for some people. Like some of the comments I got under my software rebellion, it was like, oh, I love this, but I love my 9 to 5. That's great. I'm glad, because if everyone hated their 9 to 5, that would make me really sad. Not everyone's meant to be the same thing, which is really good. If we all wanted to be doctors, then we'd have no lawyers and firefighters. If we all wanted to be like, we need people who are ideally, we want people that are suited for different kinds of work. And for me, the key isn't in what kind of work you do, but in what kind of person you are. And, you know, I just want my kids to be happy and healthy. That's it. And I think you can be happy and healthy doing sex work like I am. Let's see if I can word this without sounding like an asshole. I think objectifying is a case-by-case basis. If I tell my partner they're sexy, that could be seen as objectifying, but my intent is just complimentary. That's true. Not every time you make a compliment about, some people think that though. Some people think it's objectifying anytime you say, which is like, you could argue it is, but then you can't also argue that it's always bad. It's those that are looking to take advantage of you for their own gain that are telling you to work until you die. Yeah, I think it's what capitalism tells all of us in order to get us to be labor producing machines. And people are looked down upon like crazy for choosing this, when for some people, this could just quite simply be a better job for them. What do you look for? Think of yourself. What do you personally look for when you're looking for a job to do? You're looking at hours, you're looking at pay, you're looking at general satisfaction, all of those things. Can't sex work be something that checks those boxes more so than other options are, right? People are like, you know, I had somebody in, I think one of the last streams I did that said, you sold out to do OnlyFans. And I'm like, well, what did I sell out? Your values? Because I would never sell out my own. In fact, I think you can see in my status as a creator, I still have not sold out my own values, which is why I make less money than I would if I hired chatters from the Philippines to talk to my subscribers 24/7. I haven't checked my messages today. They are piling up. There's hundreds of them in there. And some of those people were horny in the moment. And if I didn't send them the content they wanted at the moment, which I didn't, I lost money. There's someone that just paid me and was trying to pay me for a girlfriend experience. I'm like, I don't do those. So there are ways that, because I don't have time. So that is me choosing not to sell out for money. Me doing OnlyFans is not me selling out for money, because I'm selling out your shit, like your ideas. Like, who the fuck cares about you? This is something that these people, these trolls online really don't care. Like, if you're somebody online who just sees me as an object and you hate when I speak and you hate everything else about me, rest assured, I see you as an object too. I don't care about you as a human being either. I don't care about your thoughts or opinions either. And most of you, I don't even know exist. Why do people pay you money for? Exactly. People pay me money because well, I guess you could say they consume my content or they pay for my content because they are able to release a sexual urge and they are sexually turned on by it. Why does anyone watch porn, right? Say it's entertaining. Why do you pay for music on Spotify? Why do you watch a movie, right? Because you want to be entertained, because it's fun, because it feels good, because you're human and all of us have a sex drive and it's a way to fulfill a part of that. Do you like to go to other podcasts? Yeah, I actually do. I don't exist. Oh no, you exist, but that's because you and I have had interactions. All the people in my Discord, like I know you, and even someone like I don't know. I just put people in a category in my head, like opinion matters, opinion doesn't matter. And like you guys, for instance, if you guys were like, hey, I feel like I have an issue with this aspect of your work, or I have this feedback, I would take all your feedback. I mean, it doesn't mean I might listen to you in the end, but I would take your feedback because I do respect your opinion, because you guys also are the base of people and the kind of people that I make content for and that I care about your opinion. Now, if you're just hate sex workers and you're crazy, like, no, I don't care about your opinion because you're not who I'm catering to and you don't share my values and I don't respect your opinion. Not everyone has entitled to an opinion, but not everyone's opinion is entitled to respect. So okay, got another chat from Eli. Rips bong. Do any of us really exist? Let's not get into that. Because I don't know. Right? We act like porn and sex work is this terrible thing, but these industries exist to fill a need. It's also one that thrives. We are just now getting to a place where things like OnlyFans allow the creator to be a direct beneficiary of the work. I say it's a positive step for the industry. It's interesting, though, that as we made that change, how many men on the internet were complaining about porn 5 years ago? Where podcasts were around 5 years ago where they were bringing on porn stars and telling them that they're horrible, disgusting people? Not very many. Since the onset of OnlyFans and women like me being able to profit off of it, now people are really mad. If all your subscribers were Nazis, would you care? I guess if all of my subscribers were Nazis, I would reflect as to what am I producing that is attractive to that group in particular. So like if I even had a YouTube channel and all the people who liked my YouTube channel were Nazis, I'd be like, what the fuck am I saying that is attracting this kind of person? So I think I would reflect on that. But like, let's say that somehow OnlyFans was blocking all my content and it was going only to this one neighborhood and that entire neighborhood was Nazis and they were consuming my content. That's okay, right? Like, I'm not like, you know, if I have a clothing company and Nick Fuentes wants to buy a sweatshirt, you guys saw my stream on the wedding website thing. I think once you put yourself into the commercial world, you are selling a product, and you know the ideology of everybody involved who's consuming the content, the product is not necessarily, you know, a big concern. I for sure don't exist. I mean, if the U.S. didn't care about having Nazi scientists, a section could be made. I'm just a figment of your imagination. What is the name of the logical fallacy where you take something to its extreme in order to attack the point? Kind of like a straw man. So you misconstrue somebody's argument in order to attack that false iteration of their argument because it's easier. Lots of daytime and late night talk shows had adult entertainers on to defend their lifestyle against very Vitriolic public opinion. Watch old Jerry Springer debates about corn. Actually, I never watched Jerry Springer, but I'm sure. And those debates are still kind of happening now. But I would say the online, like manosphere, red pill stuff that took off simultaneously took off around like when OnlyFans became a thing and women were able to profit off of their bodies. And like you just see these guys that are like so angry. And, you know, they have that revenge. Well, you know, you sold your soul. You're never going to find somebody that likes you. Every time I share anything on Instagram, I get at least one DM like, why do you think people care what you have to say? I mean, you probably in a comment on all my reels too. Shut up and just show us your, like, how dare you speak? How dare you think that we care? But it's funny because in the same like comments, there's like 18 other people that are like, I love when you talk. Great point, great perspective. But there's that one guy that has to say, nobody cares what you think. I'm like, you can't write nobody cares what I think in a stream full of comments of people caring what I think. You're going to have to rephrase that and say some people like yourself don't care, and that's okay. Okay, that's what Nazi comment was, a straw man. If you had a book about your life, what would the name be and who would you like to play you in a movie? You know what's interesting is I have a friend who like produces movies, or I don't know, like directs movies, whatever you want to say it. And there's one idea that I think it's not like happening for sure yet, where there is like a little character inspired by me. And I was thinking about who I want to play me. And I don't know. And I don't know what the name of my book would be either. Oh yeah, it's always the ones that, but good question. Oh yeah, it's always the ones that say you're objectifying yourself and will tell you to take off your clothes off. Yeah. They're just angry because you are lucky that you can make 100K plus a year first day on a job as an OnlyFans girl. I mean, that is, I think, where some of the anger comes from. And I get it. It's part of human nature to, I mean, like, I don't get angry anymore, really, or bitter. And I never really did because I had a lot of good things in my life and I had high self-esteem. But like, I would say my lowest points in life were where I was the most angry and the most bitter and the most jealous of other people. You know what I mean? Like, I would, if I was going to a job I hated every day and I saw somebody thriving on the internet, like that maybe like, we all know, I just said this on the podcast with Naomi, we all know what it feels like to have that anger and resentment in our bodies. Now, to different extent, I have never had it to a big extent. And I have never, ever had it to the extent that I would write a comment like, no, never. I don't think I've ever commented on anything in my life on the internet. But that wasn't positive or like, oh, what do you guys think about this? Or like an opinion on something. I've never just been like, somebody on my reel yesterday was like, if you didn't have tits, you would be a nobody. And me and Naomi just talked about this, where you always click on their profiles. And Cisco said this too. You click on their profiles and they have 0 followers. It's a fake profile and they're following 4,000 people. And you click on who they're following and they're only following OnlyFans girls and red pill stuff. And you're like, and he's like, if you didn't have tits, you'd be a nobody. And I think I wrote, well, good thing I have tits then, because imagine if I was a nobody who makes a fake profile and follows all these hot women that are hot and then talk shit about, like, I can't, like, I know you are not having a positive conscious experience. Okay. Jealousy, rage, anger, resentment, bitter. Like, these are not experiences that people enjoy. These are not experiences that people choose to have. Not saying that you can't work and choose to get out of them, but they're not anybody's first choice. And so I always think like these people are just in a bad spot. And you can tell when some people write those kind of comments versus some people write, it's great for you, but I wish like it's crazy how like teachers don't make enough, but you get on the internet and people like this are making, like, I agree. I think teachers should be paid more. I think it's crazy that people who get online and kids like unboxing toys make like millions of dollars. Yeah, that's, if I could structure society, I would probably have like a pediatric surgeon make more than somebody who films himself eating a lot on the, like, what are they called, mukbangs, or not saying that those people shouldn't get their money. Get your bag. I'm getting my bag. But it was always the same thing with celebrities. I always said, like, the rise of the Kardashians or the rise of anything stupid. I said it's not their fault. It's like, when someone's famous and you don't, like, you're like, why? Like, what? Like, for content creators, I think we're like literally producing content and people choose to consume it. But when someone says, like, oh, why do people watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians instead of watching like good, well done, well thought out, authentic TV shows? I'm like, it's not their fault. I mean, it's a reflection of what people want to see. Trust me, plenty of men were angry at porn stars before the internet facilitated it so efficiently. The Promise Keepers movement from the early 90s was aimed directly at demonizing pornography and legitimizing hate against sex workers for tearing families apart. Yeah, and I do want to say that the added, like, probably people have become more accepting of sex work, but I think with the onset of the internet, OnlyFans, and the manosphere, a lot of these guys, weren't so, like, now porn is ruined. Like, now these OnlyFans girls are like preying on vulnerable, like, this kind of rhetoric was not around when porn was free for everybody, and when you didn't have to pay and support the creator financially in order to see them. And this really bothers people. People are like, you put yourself on the internet, you should have to reap those consequences. And that means that I shouldn't have to give you a penny to see your content. That's unfair. I am entitled to it. I'm so sorry, guys. I have to get off. I have a brief I need to finish by tomorrow. Oh, I remember those days. Good luck. This goes back to my comment about there being a market for sex work. These things don't exist for the sake of existing. Someone saw an opportunity to make money and an industry was born. The Kardashians exist because people like watching someone else's life. Yeah, I don't understand that. But that doesn't mean just because I don't like doing something or I don't like someone's content doesn't mean that the content should be banned or isn't good or whatever, right? Like, I always make the example. I don't like sushi. It doesn't mean sushi's bad. Damn, it's only 7:30. Good night, everyone. I'll catch you on Discord. I plan on trying to be a little more active in Discord. It's just been such a crazy, like, month. And I was hoping not to travel for a while, but I'm going to travel to Miami next week and then go from there. The 8th. Let's see. I think a big thing with the internet and social media is that it amplifies those in the extremes because they're screaming the loudest. Yes. So we hear Myron's yelling, but I do believe, at least with educated people, that the general sentiment is neutral to, yeah. And this is, if you do see like surveys on people's thoughts on decriminalizing sex work, etc., people are moving in the direction of, even when I see the anti-sex work debates versus pro, a lot of it is no longer centered around like morality. It's centered around like what is best for the women. Maybe it's not good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you are seeing that be more of a thing. Hold on. I'm going to answer my Lash Girl really quickly because I really need to get this scheduled. So I'm going to do this on live. Sorry. Keep writing comments. Hey. Okay. I'm back. 10 o'clock on the 8th. I'm trying to fly to Miami on the 8th, but I want to get my lashes done first. Okay. The hell is a lash girl? I guess they're called a lash tech, but they do my lashes. I don't have any right now. This is my real lashes. I have pretty long lashes, but I mean, I'm a little pick me up. Okay, sorry. Envy is something that capitalism preys on and encourages. Therefore, successful people are what we are conditioned to want to be, but also have to envy and want to look down on. Good point. I'm 43 and I still watch porn. I feel like watching it doesn't have a limit, even though they say it does. Wait, I'm 43 and I still watch porn. I feel like watching it doesn't have a limit. What do you mean when who's they say it does? Like, what kind of limit are you talking about? So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on this whole topic. Kind of the same kind of stuff I said in the video I made today. They say you should stop watching when you get older. I don't know. I know that I don't think older people, well, it depends. And I'm curious to see what happens as this generation, because the older like 43 to me isn't old, but I would say like 65 plus, they didn't grow up in the age of the internet. So I don't like, they're not like really on OnlyFans, because like 65 plus people are not really on TikTok. They're not on Instagram. They're not on Reddit. So they're not like, they don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like even my demographic of like Instagram and whatever, like majority of my like 40 something percent of my like my whatever the fucking word is like 25 to 34, and then the next biggest one is like 18 through 25, and then the next biggest one is 35 through like 50, and then like the young people, it's like really small, and then 65 plus is like 1-2%. And I think that's just a reflection of what kind of media they consume. But like when we turn 65 or when we turn 50, it's not that we get less horny. It's just that maybe the means in which we satisfy those urges may be different. Who knows what the fuck when we're that age, what the younger kids are going to be entering the screen through VR and having sex with porn stars. They're going to be in a porn simulation. And we're going to be here like, oh, we used to just watch it and get off. Like the way like now people are like, oh, people used to just get like Sports Illustrated, and that would be so spicy and erotic. Like we're going to look like you guys used to get off by that. Like we have to like go in and like be in it. Every time I get one off, it feels so good. Why would I stop? Yeah. Like it's like with anything, right? Overdoing it is a problem. I always use the donut example. Donut shops, are they bad? Not for the majority of people. You're contributing to obesity, and some people are obese and they're unhealthy, and come on, right? Having a donut is good. Could it get out of hand? Yeah. Watching porn is good. It feels good. It's a nice release. We all have a sex drive. But the difference between porn and donuts is not really how good it makes you feel, but how it, the moral implications and the religious implications of it, which is why I've talked about this a lot with porn addiction and its moral incongruence, which has been research done by Dr. Nicole Prouse at UCLA. Dr. Weber is another one who've looked into this, where they found that how you feel about porn is a big indicator, a much bigger indicator actually, of how addicted you feel, as opposed to how much you actually watch. If you are old, you are most likely ugly as fucking can't get Eva's response. And that's weird because a lot of most people who watch porn are actually young. And I don't have any evidence of them being ugly. In fact, upwards of like 90% of men watch porn. And would you say upwards of all this 90+% of men are all ugly and none of them can get laid? I don't think that's what the data bears out. I wonder where the stigma against sexual desire started. I feel like it must have been sometime during the Dark Ages where we stopped looking into intellectual endeavors. It's definitely been around, at least in recent modern history, like all of the monotheistic religions. Even if you look at ancient cultures and religions, it seemed wanting to control female promiscuity and sexuality was, but this is not in every culture, right? Vikings. The funniest thing that I ever happened to me on any of these podcasts is because Myron's like, since the beginning of time, which I'm like, 4 billion years ago? What are you fucking talking about? Since the beginning of time, women's sexual, like, and I'm like, no, this was not since the beginning of time at all. It's actually very recent in our evolutionary trajectory that this has been a thing, and it hasn't been across all cultures. And I was like, for instance, like the god, like he's like all the gods. I'm like, no, Thor, Odin, like the Viking gods, they actually didn't care. And then people were like in the comments, like, she's so dumb. I can't believe she's a real lawyer. Thor isn't a person. I'm like, okay, I hate to break it to you, and I don't mean to. They're like, Thor is a fictional character. She didn't even know that. I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but so is your god, maybe. So are the 10,000 other gods that we've had since the beginning of time, or whatever, as Myron likes to say. Unfortunately, I'm very shy and I can't talk to women in real life. That's why I love JOIs the most, because it feels like you're with them. Okay. So this is one person's experience with porn, but I hate when everyone acts. So I think it was really cool. There's that study that came out on OnlyFans demographics. Now, it's just one study with one sample size. I think more research has to be done. But like 62% were married, which you can take that data, interpret it how you like, but it runs counter to the point of these are all lonely guys in their basements who can't get a date that are watching OnlyFans. I'm like, well, not only did they get a date, but they got a woman that was willing to marry them. So do they really believe this stuff? I can never tell. Haha, I forgot, but since the beginning of time, it's such a stupid, it's like so wrong. You know what I mean? There are some things that you could say since the beginning of time for, and they're very few and far in between. Any type of like cultural norm or whatever that you're finding now has probably not been replicated in every culture everywhere for like, since the beginning of, what did we start out as? Like soup. We started out as like I actually just read The Selfish Gene like a couple months ago too. We like literally started out like Dawkins said it was like soup, and then like I'm actually watching the new what is it, Life on Our Planet, which isn't a nature document because it's like all CGI, which is kind of stupid. But it is kind of good because it's super like, it like literally says like how we have evolved into what we are now, and like all of the species that have gone extinct, which has been like 99% since the beginning of time. And yeah, like it is interesting to watch. And there are all these, like, I actually had never heard of a terror. What is it? A terror bird? Sorry. I'm still with this cough. I'm hoping it goes away by next Thursday, so I'm not coughing on this podcast. Started as chicken broth, yeah, then clam chowder, then beef stew, in that order. Exactly. You nervously trying to talk about the evolution of humans just made my night. Yeah, if there are any science people in here, I do not know the ins and outs of it, but I'm really interested in it. In like a behavior sociology anthropology context, but when it comes to like the gene and the like, that to me is like, I don't like, it's outside of usually my interest or my ability to comprehend. Dang, you just been describing me. I basically live in my basement. It's just so damn comfortable. Yeah, why not? I used to literally like, I have a really big house right now that I live in, and I like stay in like one corner, like head under the sheets and like work all day. So I'm a basement dwelling, you could argue. I'm a basement dwelling loser who never leaves my house. I studied paleontology for a couple of years. Too much math to get a degree in geology, though. Yeah. See, I feel like there's so much prerequisite information that you need to be able to, like, there are certain things. That's why the vaccine shit was crazy to me, how everyone's like, I did my research. And what they meant is they watched some like alternative psycho YouTube channel, because it's really hard. Even for someone who's well-educated like myself, but isn't educated in vaccines and reading scientific papers and scientific language. I can read it, but it's difficult. And so when I see this, like, people that are, I hate to say it, but like really uneducated, stupid, be like, I've done my research on, I'm like, how could you, like, what? Watching Joe Rogan is not doing research. So yeah. Someone tell me what to do to get rid of this in the next like 10 days. It's okay. They don't really mean research. They mean finding something that confirms their own bias. People think research is watching YouTube. It's not. I think there are YouTube channels that are more credible than others. If you're watching like a actual, like, there are actually informational, educational channels, like if you want to learn about philosophy, there's some great philosophy channels that'll go through Immanuel Kant, like whatever, Plato, whatever. And then there are even science, like this is how this works, this is how that works. But watching a podcast, I'm not saying like you can't watch a podcast with an expert and learn something, but that's not doing your own research. Doing your own research is not like, you need to know how to read papers. You need to know how a vaccine works. You need to know how, and I would say it's the same thing, even in science, it's super important. And a lot of it is stuff that you can't know unless like even people who do their own research when it comes to law, like they actually go read Supreme Court cases. You understand it a lot better than the general population, but unless you have a degree like I have and you know like all this information, you can't know it in its full context. And I would say it's the same thing with science. As someone who literally has a degree in, this is Eli, as someone who literally has a degree in making drugs, the pandemic had me pulling my hair out for 2 years. Yeah, I bet. People don't have the prerequisite knowledge to have any idea how these things work. Yeah. And it's funny because it's usually, and I've said this before, it's funny because like scientists or even highly educated people in other arenas, we're like the first ones to be like, I don't know. I don't know how this works. I don't have the answers. I have no idea how we evolved or where it came from. I don't know. But then like, even though sometimes these people, even scientists who are really good at one thing, they don't like talking about another thing. Even though they probably know more than everybody watching. It's always like the dumbass, like, idiot who like actually doesn't know anything that can like come online and super confidently act like they know something because they read it on some really uncredited like random website or they saw a meme. And I will even say with this war happening right now, you guys reading something on Instagram or seeing a post on Instagram that says stats or says something that's from like a random page is not information. Okay. You know, and when you really delve into it, it's like, okay, you got to check the source. And then you got to check, like, if they say this is what the UN says, then you have to go look in what the UN considers X and what they're, it's like so much has to go into it before you actually get accurate information. But people don't get this. Like, people think that they're sharing news on Facebook or on Instagram or on any of these social media platforms, and you're just sharing. Like, I could create a picture, like literally I could make a picture right now and I could be like 2,277 point whatever percent of, and it could just be bullshit and people would reshare it. Like, that's it, and that happens all the time. Cough drops, love. Yeah, I have some. I need to take them. Cough. I just read that. The COVID vaccine process was groundbreaking and amazing. Custom made vaccine was mRNA, so our bodies made our own vaccine. So fucking cool. Well, cool to you. Some people think we were all just microchipped. Bada bing, bada boom. If you like anthropology and watching someone rip into conspiracies on TikTok, watch Mini Minutemen. Yeah, I think there can be some really good resources and really good, like, even news, but like someone needs to earn the status. Like, if like the news I actually consume, I try to consume it from sources that have earned the status of, okay, these people generally print real news. It's usually verified. And so then I don't have to go verify every single source. I don't know why people get their information from Instagram, because you're not like, if you get your information from an Instagram page that says "Eye on Israel" or "Eye on," you know what I mean? You don't know, and like it could be right, and even there's stuff that coincides with your belief, and you want it to be right, but it's not. I saw this girl. She made a great example of like, oh, here's a really happy post because we've changed this, and now like the animals are, and it's like they put a video of like a different thing that doesn't have like you know what I mean? It's really hard to know what and it's crazy because we used to be able to be like, video is a primary source, and it still is. I would say right now, for the most part, we don't have the tech like to completely concoct a video out of nowhere that's actually realistic enough that is an event, like, what we're seeing happen, like videos where people are being harmed are real. But we're going to get to a point, I was thinking about this, we're going to get to a point where you can create those kinds of things too. And that's going to be really crazy, because then video evidence, until it's verified, won't even be a primary source. I think there's already been certain, at least, ramblings about that, although a lot of times those videos ended up being real so far. But it's going to be like the internet, it's going to be just with AI, it's going to be this crazy place where people can pretty much make up anything and show a video of anything, and people are going to be like, okay, yeah. Whew. Gotta love the Dunning-Kruger effect. I have to like purify myself with truth afterwards, because I'll lose brain cells or something. I will say, every time I've had to do red pill stuff, I always give myself, like, if I do a red pill podcast, I give myself a week after to read something intellectually challenging, because otherwise I feel like I get stupid. How does the red pill taste? Hi, my dark side siren. Oh, when I was working at Amazon during COVID, everyone was sent on email telling everyone that 5G towers don't cause viruses or COVID transmission. Yeah. There's that question that, like, if we could actually genetically modify babies, and you could give everyone like at least an average IQ right away, would it be bad to do so? Sometimes I'm like, no, because maybe we could avoid some of this. Bro, I'm a Destiny fan. I'm from Ukraine. I'm sorry, I don't live in a US bubble. Cool. I will be debating with him next week. You should check it out. Hi, you're beautiful. I follow you. Yes. Great. Yes, US on top. Yo, what's good? Did a bunch of people just hop in here randomly? I never look at. I only do these streams, and then I think I'm getting up there kind of, and I have more followers on Twitch than I thought. You're a fire thing. Ting. Got my notifications turned on. Cool. What we doing then? We kind of talked about objectification. Now we're just talking about whatever, and I'm wrapping up here soon, so I can go live on my OnlyFans. How are you getting popular? Well, hopefully I'm not mad at it. What is objectification? You should watch the replay because I don't have time to go over it again. And I'm doing a YouTube video on it. So luckily, yeah, you can watch them on there. The sad thing is I have friends that work in telecom, and they said that some people in that field still believe that 5G tracker shit. Like, you work in telecom, you know how this works. Yes, I do have OnlyFans. I'm going to go live on there in about 15 minutes. But before I do, is there anything else before I go? You need more self-respect. No offense. Okay, you know what? You definitely need to rewatch this stream. It's going to be once I'm off of it, watch it from the beginning, because we kind of talked about that today. Proud of you for holding your own no matter. Oh, thank you. All right. So, do you think your OF will affect your future relationships? No, not for me in particular, because I never liked people. My type of guy was one that shared my values on sex work even before I did sex work. So if you've listened to me on different platforms, I talk about all the time how before I was on OnlyFans, I had no social media. I was a good little lawyer. And if a guy at the time talked about women the way you talk about women, I would ghost you. And I ghosted guys who did that back then too. Okay. I hope everybody has a good rest of their night. If you want to come get freaky with me, go to jasminejafar.me and click on the top link. Bye.